Boo. October 2023, the scariest one of all. Spooks, frights, and your student loans are due. Over the years, I've talked about a lot of different spooky games I like playing around this time of year, and this year I figured, why not give myself more work to do and do a video every single day? That's right, a video every single day. Now, they're not gonna be anything crazy, about like 3 to 5 minutes at most, but each one is going to be about a different spooky game that I think is worth your time. We got classics, we got obscure, we got indies, we got bad. All of that throughout the whole month of October. But what's the last game going to be? You have to watch and find out. So join me for the October Spook-A-Thon. If you can come up with a better name, you tell me, because I had a hard time coming up with that. That's right, I'm starting with Zombies Ate My Neighbors. That's how you know I ain't messing around. Honestly, the plan from the start was to do this game first. I was excited to play it again. And yeah, maybe that excitement died a little once I actually started playing it. Zombies Ate My Neighbors was originally released back in 1993 and was recently released on all modern platforms along with its sequel, Ghoul Patrol. It's an arcadey top-down run and gun where your goal is to save all your neighbors in each level before any enemy can reach them. Once they're all saved, or killed, you move on. Simple and easy to understand, and that coating of spooky Halloween vibes is icing on the cake. Sure, you got zombies running around, and there are also mummies, chainsaw men, alien spores, ants, giant baby.
Well, I thought this was Zombies Ate My Neighbors, not Monsters Ate My Neighbors.
The wide enemy variety is definitely fun, and the whole game looks great too. The sprite work has a Saturday morning cartoon vibe. Like, look at this character design. You know this kid's eye doctor hates him and the double vision he no doubt has. Now, the game isn't bad per se, it's fun, but this is definitely from an era where a game's length was from its difficulty. And they chose to make that difficulty come from the fact that the enemies can range from whatever to OP as hell, and your own arsenal is kinda lame and not helpful at all. Your standard water gun is fine, but you better make sure those shots hit directly at the center of the enemy or they won't connect. And all the other weapons you get, I barely find any use for. The bazooka is nice, but again, if you aren't aiming right at that sweet spot, you'll miss them. And given that this is a 2D game, it's sometimes hard to tell where that spot is. I can never get these ice pops to hit, and everything else just misses. You do get some support items, like health pickups or this cool monster pickup, or a blown up clown thing. I actually dig this one a lot for the annoying enemies. Most of the time you find them in cupboards or other containers, which can also hurt you if RNG decrees it so. It's these old game design elements that doesn't really jive well today. I'm always down for a challenge, but when it just feels like the game is constantly working against me or doesn't give me the tools I need to succeed, it just stops being fun to try. Which is a shame. I really like the level and enemy variety and always dig whenever a level is based upon one of these new enemies. But sometimes you'll get shit like this. What the fuck? Zombies Ate My Neighbors is fun at surface level, not really the type of game I'd say you should go hard into completing. I'd say get the SNES version on emulator or grab the modern release on sale if you really want to, and mess around with it a bit. Good thing that since it's old school, you can just put in passwords to get to later levels. So if you like classic spooky / cartoony video games and can get behind some less than polished controls, this could be up your alley. But if you're looking for something with a little bit more substance, I'd say you're better off looking in another neighborhood. From the director of the first Silent Hill game comes an interesting take on survival horror. Forbidden Siren, otherwise known as just Siren, a survival horror game in which you play as 10 different characters that you'll jump between as the game goes on. To sum it up, an earthquake occurred in the town of Hanuda, and every character you play as is trying to escape, and now the town residents are infected with some disease that makes them hostile towards anyone who are not infected. The infected townsfolk are now referred to as Shibido. All of the characters gain a unique ability called sight jacking, where they can see from another person's point of view, including any Shibido close by. So using this ability, we go through a strange journey of discovering what exactly happened to cause all of this in the town of Hanuda and making an escape before it's too late. At least I assume so. Sadly, since I'm only taking quick looks into these games, I didn't get super deep into the plot yet. But from what I've gathered, it definitely feels like a natural progression from the director's previous work in Silent Hill. The story being told in this sort of out of order but still somewhat chronologically is interesting, but it makes it really hard to connect with any of the characters when only playing for like 2 hours. Hell, I've only actually played as 4 of them in that time, and I barely remember much about them, which is a shame because I do like these characters, even if they look kind of off.
I'll go and see what's going on.
Yeah, so the models in the game all have these realistic looking face textures like we are back in the good old PS1 days, except the texture quality is way higher. And yeah, it looks so weird, but honestly it does add to the game and gives it an off-putting nature. That, mixed with the really cool looking environments, make this game very unsettling to play through. Plus the Shibitos. While not scary on their own, they do make it very nerve-wracking when trying to figure out where one is based upon what it sees. And it does actually get my heart racing a bit when I'm moving and quickly look to see what the nearest one is doing and see that it's walking towards me with its weird guttural sounds. Ugh, it gives me goosebumps. The gameplay is pretty standard survival horror stuff. Each level has a main objective, which is usually just get to here, and once you do it, you did it, good job. But each level can have secondary objectives that might impact characters in later missions. And on 2 occasions, I accidentally did that instead of completing the main objectives because this game does not make it easy to get to the goal. Be it missing something that I didn't know was climbable or having 1 million enemies to worry about, this game does not hold your hand. And rightfully so, each level is almost like a puzzle you have to solve with the solution being extremely vague, and with the sightjacking ability being your main way to keep an eye on your enemies, this almost feels like a Metal Gear game mixed with Silent Hill. You just gotta sneak shit. Siren is a great game for survival horror enthusiasts that want another game that has an interesting twist to it. It's available on PS3 and 4/5 digitally, and I can safely say once I have some more time on my hands, I'll definitely be seeing more of what this game has to offer. Every now and again, I forget that indie games can have some of the most unique experiences, especially if you're looking for something with a spooky vibe. So, today's flavor of indie is Inscription, a roguelike deck-building card game that clearly has a lot more going on than just playing cards. Opening up the game, you find that your only way to begin playing is to hit continue. You find yourself in a dark room with a person enshadowed on the other side of the table. Only their eyes are visible. The dealer begins to explain the rules of this card game, one that requires you to summon creatures from your hand onto the field, some requiring sacrifices to be summoned. Once you end your turn, your creatures attack. If no enemy creatures are in the way, you deal damage directly to the enemy. Whoever's side of the scale weighs down low enough loses. You quickly figure out that this is more than just a card game, as one of the cards begins to speak to you. What comes from this is a strange, almost escape room-esque journey to find out a way to escape the room you're in, and you'll need that talking card's help to do so. The main gameplay focuses on progressing through this D&D type map the dealer has made up for you. Different spaces yield different results. Maybe you get new cards or opportunities to power your cards up, or even get new items to help out in battles, of which are fairly common throughout the map. And this battle system is so simple and fun. Each card has a different effect on the field and can be utilized in so many different ways. And there's a ton of cards too, you'll be finding plenty of them. I did mention that this is a roguelike, right? Because if you lose 2 battles, you lose the game and have to start over. Not before the dealer takes you to a different room and forces you to create your death card, full with stats, effects, your name, and finally, your picture. And then we start over again. This already has such a cool concept for a dark card game, but what makes Inscription interesting is that you can get up from the table and explore the room. You'll find different puzzles and things to interact with, netting you with new cards or other items. The items of which can range from extra cards to use, to a knife that you use to gouge your eye out to add some weight to the dealer's side of the scale. Yeah, the dark elements of this game are pretty cool. It's not all so overt like the knife is. It plays out a bit more subtle than that, making large-scale moments like that all the more shocking. Plus, this game looks beautiful. Such a dark, pleasant art style, everything looks so whimsical with a dark edge to it. I especially love how the room changes color when the boss battles occur, along with that droning, dramatic music that plays. Everything about this game's style, gameplay, and narrative is incredible. I hate myself for not playing it sooner, but this time of year is perfect for a game with this level of dark styling. Creepy, cryptic, and has enough twists to make you question if you could have ever guessed where this game was gonna go. Inscription is a perfect game to play this Halloween season, and make sure you smile for the camera. Twisted Metal, a car combat series known for high-octane gameplay and heavy metal comic-inspired characters and designs. That's cute. Twisted Metal Black, a dark, twisted version of the series that single-handedly shifted the series' gears towards a completely new direction. For like 2 games. Even if Twisted Metal is dead aside from the new show that apparently isn't even that bad, which is nice to hear, fans of the series usually say that Twisted Metal Black is the best the series has to offer. My personal favorite is Twisted Metal Head-On, but even I still agree that Black is the most unique in the whole series, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a more perfect game to play this Halloween season. In Twisted Metal Black, you choose one of 10 different drivers, 15 once you unlock everyone, and you get a wonderfully twisted deep dive in each character's psyche as they're all committed to the Blackfield Asylum for some reason unknown to us at the start. Each driver is approached by Calypso, a man who runs the Twisted Metal Car Combat Contest and claims to give them what they most desire if they win. After defeating the mid-boss Minion, we get a second cutscene showing off what exactly got our selected driver into the asylum in the first place. And once we defeat the final boss Warhawk, we get the character's ending where they get what they wish for. It's a simple setup with the added benefit of having each character's stories told from their own point of view. And with how superb the voice acting is, mixed with this, like, I don't know, MTV-style editing, you get some very enthralling cutscenes.
He told me if I won, I could have the one thing my heart desired. I may be no rocket scientist, but I know opportunity when I see it.
Because of the game's deadline, sadly not every character was created equally. Yellowjacket only gets an intro and outro cutscene, and the characters Axel, Warthog, and Manslaughter only get endings. If you think that's bad, the final unlockable character Minion doesn't get any cutscene, just dialogue during loading screens like, "What? And if you think that's bad?" It's been discovered that the final boss Warhawk at one point was going to be playable, going as far as having a character select screen and a loading screen render, but he was cut because they weren't sure how to make him work, which is a shame because he looks really cool. Speaking of looks, this game still looks really good. All of the characters are kind of uncomfortable to look at with a really dark color palette, while not allowing there to be no color. All the colors that they did choose are dark and foreboding, and these designs are so good, just look at them. Which, these renders are different than their in-game renders, that's kind of odd, isn't it? Kind of adds to the off-putting creepy nature of the game though. Each character plays roughly the same, but they do have different stats and unique special abilities. The goal in any mission is to take out every opponent, and unlike previous games, we don't gradually get into large-scale combat. From the first level, we get the maximum amount of enemies. The gameplay is frantic and fast-paced, and everybody's abilities are fun as hell too. Like Sweet Tooth turns into a mech missile launcher? That's awesome. This does come to my only complaint though, and it's that we got really fun, hectic gameplay and dark, twisted stories. They kinda don't meld very well in my opinion. Each characters talk about how they're murdering people and how it feels to do so, but like, we're blowing people up with missiles. I'm sure I'd feel something too, but not in the way these characters are talking. Maybe that's the point to have the gameplay and stories be juxtaposed. But honestly, imagine a world where the game Thrill Kill got to be released and ended up having sequels. Couldn't you imagine a PS2 version of that game having characters with stories like these? It would have fit way better. But regardless, the game is fun. Aside from the bosses. I don't know, they're kind of, yeah, not super fun, a little too damage spongy for the gameplay style, but you should still play this game, or at least watch all the cutscenes on YouTube. I recommend watching Mr. Grimm's, even if they do spell it out for you way too much in his ending, Doll Faces, Preachers, and of course Sweet Tooth's cutscenes. Even if you just watch Sweet Tooth's, because his is the best.
When they captured me, the only thing I could think was, what a waste. All those people I hadn't killed yet. Come the night of my execution, there must have been over 1,000 people gathered outside to watch me fry. I was upset about that. There should have been more.
It's a twisted look into a bunch of freaks' heads and perfect for Halloween. And perhaps there are a few secrets behind the scenes to see what is really going on. You'll have to find out for yourself, but believe me, I miss the colors too. The PlayStation 1 was home to so many classic games I never got to play, but I did have a demo disc that I played to death. And the one game on it that I played over and over again was this cool looking game called Medieval. Gothic, horror inspired spooky designs with a comedic edge. It was so fun. I wouldn't get to play the full game until way later in my life. But now there are 3 different versions of the game? Oh man, we better get started here. In Medieval, the evil sorcerer Zarok has returned to wreak havoc into the land of Gallowmere by brainwashing the citizens and raising the dead. This also means that the once brave, heroic knight that led the charge to defeat Zarok, Sir Daniel Fortescue, has also been resurrected. But we knows better. Sir Dan is not the hero he was made out to be. He got hit by the first stray arrow shot by the opposing forces and died on the spot. But now, Sir Dan has a second chance to save the land of Gallowmere and become the hero that he was meant to be. Now that's all there is to the PS1 game and its PS4 remake. The PSP remake, however, adds this genie character named Al-Zalam, whose purpose is meant to be annoying.
Oh, you remember Zarok at least? Yes, that madman is back from the exile. He has mastered the dark magics, has been waking the dead, turning good men evil. He turns this land bad quicker than tub of yak's cheese next to warm radiator.
I hate this guy, he never shuts up. A common problem with this PSP game. Yeah, let me get this out of the way now. The PSP version isn't the best. It's not bad, but the gameplay is stiff and repetitive, and I hate the humor in it. Whereas the humor in the original PS4 remake are more akin to something like the Princess Bride style of humor, the PSP version fancies itself a Monty Python sketch and tries way too hard to be funny. And yes, I like British humor too, don't get me wrong, but these cutscenes go on forever and are funny like 10% of the time, which is a shame. I like how they make Sir Dan more pathetic in this game, but I still prefer the humor in the original and PS4 versions of the game.
How I pity the people of Gallowmere, that their fate should once again be in the hands of a chump like you. Still, I suppose it's not fair to take it out on them.
But regardless of which version you play, it can't be understated how cool these games look. The Tim Burton-inspired art style is a treat, especially back on the PS1, and especially in the remake of this game. It looks beautiful. The PS4 remake nails the animation in addition to being a beautiful looking game. My favorite part being this character Jack of the Green. Like, yeah, you know, here he is in the original game, just a talking head, but in the PS4 version, oh my god, this looks so cool. He's a stone head, so his animation style is reduced to make him appear more stone-like. Oh, that's so good.
Puzzles so fiendishly difficult, so perplexingly complex, that no man has ever solved them. Ha ha ha.
With the variety of locations we'll be visiting, it's really fun to see what the next place will look like. So with there being 3 versions of the game, we do have 3 options as to which version is definitive, but they do share at least a common core gameplay loop. Medieval is level-based. Each level contains various items for you to find, some required to progress in other levels, especially after your paths branch off. So there's a good amount of backtracking, but your aim is to collect a chalice from each level so you can go to the Hall of Heroes. This is where one of Sir Dan's old comrades will give him a new weapon that usually directly replaces its pre-Hall of Heroes equivalent. But the gameplay is definitely not easy. It's an action-adventure game, but there's no lock-on, so you'll be flailing your weapon around trying to hit whatever you can, which may have been intentional since Sir Dan is a buffoon, unless you play the PSP version, which tried to make it more hack-and-slashy with a lock-on and light combo system. Ironically, by doing this, the gameplay just feels boring. At least the other versions are frantic. Yeah, the PSP version is the worst in my opinion. Play it if you don't like the other 2 and still want to give the series a chance. The PS1 version does have the nostalgia factor with a bit more moody with its art style, but the PS4 version takes the cake on this one. A complete faithful recreation from the original right down to the voice acting being reused.
The master meets with the demon from the mausoleum, hatching plots of purest evil. Forgotten nobodies would be wise to make themselves scarce.
It looks beautiful, plays really fun, and it's a perfect representation of the Medieval franchise. Hopefully one day we'll get more Medieval content. Maybe a remake of 2? Maybe a whole new game? I know this is very 2017 of me to say, but given its gothic roots, I genuinely would love a Medieval Souls-like game. Think about it, a comedy-based Souls game where Sir Dan has to take down tough-as-nails bosses and gets made fun of every time he dies. It would fit the character and add way more to his journey of becoming a hero. As long as the humor isn't the PSP game. God, don't let that happen, please. Can't talk about horror games without bringing up one of the classics, Silent Hill. The first one. I'm talking about this one mainly because it's one of the few I have easy access to, and I really think that this game is special. The game's development is interesting, and the series that came after includes some of the best horror games ever made, and it all started here. In Silent Hill, you play as Harry Mason, who is passing through the town of Silent Hill while on vacation with his daughter Cheryl. They get into a car accident, however, and when Harry awakes, he finds that Cheryl is missing. What follows is a journey into hell itself where Harry encounters horrible nightmare monsters and a sinister plot to resurrect a god to rebuild the world anew. Somehow this is related to Harry's daughter. How? You'll have to play or watch a Let's Play on YouTube because you're a coward to find out. Ho ho ho. It's a simple setup with an amazingly effective atmosphere, along with just looking amazing for the time. It has this weird off-putting soundtrack and voice acting that's serviceable, but also a little weird, kind of giving this otherworldly effect.
Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month, short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
So the infamous Silent Hill fog was both an aesthetic choice and a clever way of making it so the PS1 could handle a map of this size. It only renders what's right around you, so the fog hides the empty spaces from your sight, both creating a sense of disorientation and a little claustrophobia and agoraphobia at the same time. Feeling boxed in because of the fog but having an unknown amount of space beyond it, it's a master class of messing with the player's head. Of course, we do get indoor areas as well, like this school that, no joke, was modeled after the school in the Arnold Schwarzenegger film Kindergarten Cop. And of course, we have the enemies. In my opinion, they aren't nearly as scary as some later in the series, but they definitely are creepy. Weird pterodactyls, small children with knives, dogs. Please look at this mandatory screenshot. Anyways, there's a lot of enemies later in the game as well, and some bosses that are their own beasts. But for the first look into what kind of creatures that this world can create, they're fine. The combat is your standard survival horror shtick, clunky and not user-friendly by design to make running from enemies more of a viable option. The game is way more reliant on its atmosphere rather than its gameplay. And like I said, it's superb at that, even down to the music, ranging from ambient droning to horrific squeals and banging. It's almost like weird art house music. Silent Hill is a must-play for survival horror fans, and if you played it before, do yourself a favor and play it again. And look up the stories about its development too. It's a real interesting story, and you get to find out how Konami was an evil company back then too. And hey, why not play the other Silent Hill games? Because you know we got direct sequels, cash grabs, poor attempts, and one of the greatest games ever made, no joke. All spawning from a game with this type of dialogue.
I've been expecting you. It was foretold by gyromancy. You must follow the path. The path of the hermit concealed by Flauros.
What the fuck is she talking about? Sometimes a game doesn't need a whole lot to be impactful. Just some unique visuals and an interesting premise can be enough to keep players engaged. And that's what Subway Midnight does best. What it doesn't have in gameplay, it makes up for with just some cool-ass visuals ranging from whimsical to pretty damn disturbing. In Subway Midnight, you play as Elizabeth, who boards a subway at midnight. Whoa. Unfortunately, this subway has been the site for the murder of a bunch of people who board the train alone due to the strange evil thing that stalks and kills whoever enters the subway alone. And not only that, but there's just a bunch of weird shit that happens on the train. Elizabeth isn't fazed by any of this because she's as baked as an apple pie this whole game. During this train ride, you'll encounter the ghosts of the recently deceased, and you can help them be not so upset about the whole dead thing if you can figure out what will make them happy. Making everyone happy will result in the good ending. I did not do that. But these characters are really fun. I especially love the almost Newgrounds-esque art style they have going for them. And they have some really cool rooms attached to them. See, as you explore the train, each car has some unique layout or design to them. You ever watch that show Infinity Train? It's kind of like that. Some rooms will be absolutely beautiful, impossible landscapes. Others will be some strange or creepy situation you gotta work through. And of course, there's that. The horror elements in this game are not necessarily underplayed, but they're not overt by any means. You get creepy rooms here or there, but it's more about being weird than scary. Until you get the Collins game. Yeah, I didn't like this part. Cheap jump scares are one thing I hate, but man, you also walk so freaking slow, and it takes forever to actually get through the game like. I want to see more train cars, not streamer bait horror schlock. There are the occasional annoying rooms, but all of them are really cool and bizarre, and they're what make this game totally worth it. It's a short, sweet game that has enough there to hold your attention to the end, and even a motivating factor to get the good ending. I recommend this one. It's available on Steam and Switch, so go nuts. But what happens if you play Subway Midnight at midnight? Well, you'll have to find that out for yourselves. Ooh, incentive to play the game yourself. Ooh, or just Google it. Ooh. Look, I'm a simple man. Give me gun, I will shoot monster. This is the philosophy of a boomer shooter, a genre defined by the retro FPS era. Games like Wolfenstein and Doom, large labyrinth-esque maps focusing on finding weapons and keys and shooting enemies. And getting lost. Very, very lost. These games are always a good time, and some would even cite Doom as the perfect game to play during the Halloween season. I, however, have a different boomer shooter you should all try out. Blood, Fresh Supply. That's a lame subtitle, but really cool title.
No one wants to play with me.
This game is just too much fun, with a heaping helping of gothic horror and Evil Dead-esque camp along with it.
Open for business.
In Blood, you play as Caleb, who once served the god Chernobog as one of his highest commanders. That is, until Chernobog kills Caleb's girlfriend and then kills Caleb himself. Caleb then rises from his grave with this badass line,
I live again.
And sets off to get revenge on Chernobog. Simple setup with some... just... these cutscenes. Wow. The game itself looks awesome though, very much of that Duke Nukem 3D era with a spooky coat of blood red paint all over it. I love the enemies too. These zombie dudes make the most satisfying mic peaking death sound when they die. And the cult members. Dear God, the cult members. I love these guys. Between their weird ramblings and possibly the best death cry in any game ever, really makes hunting down enemies that much more fun. Speaking of, the weapons you find are actually a little bit more unique for this area than you expect. You got your standard melee pitchfork, but you end up getting dynamite that you throw and a flare gun to set enemies on fire with. If that wasn't cool enough, you get a sawed-off shotgun and Tommy gun later too, all of which have unique secondary firings as well. So much fun. The only issue is that, as with most boomer shooters of the era, the game is top-loaded with the good levels. After a certain point, they start to dwindle in quality, which is a shame since there's a lot of them, and none of them ever get like really bad, but the first few levels are really good. Like this rad as hell train level or this carnival with games you can actually win for prizes.
Oh, I won.
If you play Blood, which you should, because overall it's really fun, I'd say play it for the first episode, which does have an ending to it, and if you really end up liking it, play some more of it. But if you like the movie Army of Darkness or like spooky shit with a badass main character mowing down baddies, then this is the game for you. Blood, Fresh Supply. That subtitle is still really dumb. Oh shit, yo, it's Castlevania! A staple of gothic platforming goodness. Not that one. Everyone loves Castlevania, don't lie! And everyone has their preference as to which Castlevania they enjoy. Classic side-scrolling challenge, open-ended maps with lots of areas to explore, anime, or whatever weird stuff they were doing on the home consoles for a while there. My favorite, of course, is the open-ended search-action Metroidvania style of game. And, as I'm sure you can guess, my favorite Castlevania is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Yeah, it might be a basic pick, but I can't understate how much I love this game. It's one of the best. Castlevania Symphony of the Night starts with the final boss of the previous Castlevania game, Rondo of Blood, where Richter Belmont confronts Dracula in one of the most infamous line readings of all time.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets! But enough talk! How about you?
Once Dracula is defeated, the day is saved, but years pass and Dracula's castle rises once more. We now play as Alucard, the son of Dracula, as he storms the castle looking to put an end to all this. And Alucard is a fucking badass dude, like holy shit. That is until Death steals our stuff, and lo and behold, we are in a true Metroidvania, starting us off with nothing. So, we traverse the open-ended castle looking for upgrades and other helpful items as well as different bosses so we can power up for our eventual fight with Dracula. And man, this castle is so fun to explore. Not only is it massive, but it has so many secrets to find and different cool looking gothic areas too. Even though this is a PS1 game, it still holds up even to the most modern of pixel art inspired games. Look at Alucard. So much damn fine animation with this boy. The different weapons and upgrades you can obtain are pretty rad too. Lots of swords with different properties and attributes, or shields you can get via rare drops from enemies. Look, I got the X shield. And if that isn't enough, you can do fighting game inputs to do various magic spells to help you during combat. Or you can turn into a dog. The bosses are so fun too. They all have patterns you gotta figure out, and they're pretty challenging without being bullshit, you know? And the music. Oh my god, the music. Okay, I could go on all day. The point is, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is extremely worth playing. Aside from that one, if you're looking for more Castlevania action, might I recommend Aria of Sorrow? Included in the Castlevania Advance collection, it's the second best Metroidvania in my opinion. The main mechanic of obtaining enemy souls to get different moves is really fun and rewarding. And if that isn't enough for you, one more game to try out. Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night.
Bloodstained.
A spiritual successor to the classic Metroidvania style of game by the original director of Symphony of the Night, Koji Igarashi. Bloodstained basically combines all the Metroidvania titles designed by Igarashi into one very solid, fun game. Tons of different weapon types, the stole stealing mechanic for Aria, a small village with NPCs. It's a Castlevania fan's wet dream, man. So there you go, 3 perfect Gothic-inspired games for y'all to play. Either that or you could play Kid Dracula. Because I mean, why wouldn't you? I remember going to the beach with my family as a kid, and my dad took me to the local arcade, and I saw a cabinet titled House of the Dead 2. I tried to play with my dad, but I was a kid and zombies scared me, so I didn't play for long. We then went back to the arcade later with my uncle, and I shit you guys not, they played all the way up to the final boss and quit when they died against him. As lame as that might sound, that was still a legendary feat to witness, and House of the Dead 2 has since become my favorite light gun shooter of all time.
The House of the Dead.
The House of the Dead. House of the Dead 2 is an arcade classic that got a few re-releases. Here I got the Wii version with House of the Dead 3 included, and this is probably the most appropriate game to play around Halloween time. Like, come on, it's got zombies and robots voicing the main characters. What more could you want?
How could anyone do this?
In House of the Dead 2, you and a friend play as James Taylor and Gary Stewart respectively, who are meeting G over there.
We're meeting G over there.
But are stopped by this thing.
Let's go, Gary.
Yup, zombies, just like the previous game's Korean Manor incident that also had zombies killing robots disguised as people. So it's up to James and Gary to mow down zombie after zombie to find out who started this outbreak, and whether or not they could become real boys. Okay, I'm sorry, but guys, this voice acting, man.
Guess who's behind it? It was Goldman. He's the head one of the most eminent financial group and an expert on the genome theory.
It's so bad. So bad. And that makes the game the best, dude. The amount of times I've said, "We are meeting G over there," or "Thank you for rescuing me," or "People of the AMS, I am Goldman," is way more than I want to admit. It's hilarious and makes the game a joy to play.
My friends went inside, but they're not back yet. I told them not to go.
Why did he say that like a 10-year-old? What the hell? Aside from that, the graphics are classic arcade goodness. Dated, sure, but it gives them an old world charm, especially with the Gothic-inspired architecture. And the gameplay? Yeah, point and shoot. What more can I say? Yeah, there are the occasional power-ups, but for the most part, shoot zombies, don't shoot people, shoot off screen to reload. The boss battles too, man. So fast-paced and hectic. Knowing where the weak point is from the start is good because it makes you focus on finding openings rather than just mindlessly shooting like you do with every other enemy. And yeah, that about covers it. It's a simple game, and that's just how I like my arcade shooters. But there is a Wii exclusive mode called Original Mode, which isn't the original arcade mode. That's arcade mode. So like original as in unique to the game, or original mode where you can equip power-ups at the start and play the game like arcade mode. Huh. Oh, and mission mode too. Yeah, that's fun.
Ready? Go! Don't kill me!
If you can, please get a buddy and play this game. It's so much fun to laugh at the dialogue with a friend and shoot the fuck out of zombies. Only thing better would be if we can make this educational somehow. No fucking way! got a rough one for you today, folks. Point-and-click adventure games aren't really my thing, but it's a genre ripe with spooky entries, so I picked out a few I was always interested in trying, one of which is Franbo. It went semi-viral when it was initially released due to horror games and YouTubers being like human beings in oxygen, but it's rarely talked about nowadays, and that's a shame because this game is pretty damn effective. In Franbo, we play as the titular character who is committed to a juvenile mental hospital after witnessing her parents being murdered. She doesn't like it there, and what makes it worse is that the medication she is given makes her see some really messed up stuff when she takes it. This medicine, however, is the key to her escaping the mental hospital and finding her cat, Mr. Midnight. Once she does, maybe Franbo can finally learn to be happy again. I gotta say, Franbo is a fantastic character. She's just a kid, right? And as such, she's somewhat unpredictable like a kid can be. She can be sweet and innocent, as well as cruel or rude. You can't really tell how exactly she'll react to something. Like when she sees a hanging skeleton, her first instinct is to compliment the skeleton's dress. And the stuff Franbo sees... yeesh. It's not like this is stuff I haven't seen before, but between the unsettling art style and the dark theming of this game, it really gets under your skin when you see a child's head explode. This game deals with a lot of dark subject matter: murder, sexual abuse, mental disorders, even human experimentation. Yeah, this game takes place in the 1940s, and I'm sure that era was chosen for a reason. Lots of messed up innocent people in this game, and just some downright cruel adults that you want to see get messed up in Franbo's Other World. It's a standard point-and-click adventure, so a lot of experimenting with items and combining them to get new ones. The main mechanic is switching between the two worlds, and with how graphic the second world can get, it makes every screen worth at least seeing what the other world is like. Overall, Franbo is a good time if you enjoy media that aims to make you a little uncomfortable. It really is satisfying seeing her overcome challenges. And that ending. Whew, that ending. You gotta see it for yourself. Play it or watch a playthrough on YouTube. Regardless of how you experience it, Franbo is a game worth experiencing. Oh yeah, here we go. Luigi's Mansion. You don't get more cartoonishly spooky than Luigi's Mansion. An action-adventure game with elements of survival horror mixed in there. Luigi's Mansion is fucking awesome, no matter which one you play. While this franchise has expanded to have 2 sequels, a 3DS remake, and an arcade game, I still think the original Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube is the best one. Luigi gets a letter in the mail saying that he's won a mansion, from a contest he never even entered. Excited anyways, Luigi tells Mario to meet him at said mansion, but once Luigi arrives, he don't find Mario, he finds ghosts! Luigi meets Professor E. Gadd, who has a device called the Poltergust 3000 that Luigi can use to capture the ghosts in his mansion. So, it's up to Luigi to suck up all the ghosts and find his missing brother. All the while, he's pissing his pants. Like, man, they characterize Luigi so well in this game. This is in that weird era between the older Mario titles and the newer ones post Mario Sunshine. And this is pretty much the first time Luigi is associated with being a cowardly hero, and he's just a joy to watch and listen to in this game. That mansion theme, man, that's so iconic. The whole game has this delightfully spooky feel with this realistic dark mansion and the cartoony ghosts floating around. I don't care what anyone says, all the ghosts post the first Luigi's Mansion game look lame. These ghosts are iconic. When you do encounter ghosts, you'll want to hit them with your flashlight to expose their hearts. Then they're vulnerable to be sucked up, which almost feels like a fishing game. You'll be flicking your flashlight at these ghosts and sucking them up the whole game. Or you'll be trying to figure out how to make the boss ghosts let their guards down so you can suck them up. That's a dead baby. That's your main goal of the game. Get all the boss ghosts so you can get more keys to enter more rooms. It is such a fun game. I actually had a really hard time putting it down. I would have gladly played all the way through this game like I have so many times. If you haven't played Luigi's Mansion yet, please do. Unfortunately, the original game is only available on GameCube and the 3DS remake, so it'll be a little hard to track down and play it, but it'll be worth it. Luigi's Mansion. Because busted makes you feel good. Ah yes, the dawn of viral spooky games YouTubers pretend to be afraid of. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. You know, I never actually played this game, probably because I'm a little baby bitch. But now that I'm a man and do my own taxes, it was time for me to find out if this game is actually scary or not. And yeah, it's kinda scary. In Amnesia: The Dark Descent, you play as Daniel, who wakes up in a dark abandoned castle and seems to have amnesia. Who would have guessed that? While exploring the dark halls, he finds a note that is addressed to him by himself. It seems Daniel had given himself amnesia so he could forget some awful stuff that happened, and pre-amnesia Daniel begs post-amnesia Daniel to find and kill the Baron of the castle, Alexander.
God willing, the name Alexander of Brandenburg still invokes bitter anger in you. If not, this will sound horrible. Go to the inner sanctum. Find Alexander and kill him.
A pretty simple but intriguing setup to be sure. I dig the mystery aspect as to what exactly could have been so terrible that Daniel would want to give himself amnesia to forget it. And the notes you find along with the flashbacks Daniel have really set the mood of being at the site of some ungodly experiments. And some of those experiments are still here. Amnesia isn't the first game, but one of the first in a while to make the focus of the game running and hiding from your enemies instead of fighting them. As such, you have no offensive capabilities, all you can do is run away. Unfortunately, aside from one pretty cool sequence with an invisible monster in the basement, I never actually got caught by any of the creatures. Maybe I'm too good? I don't know, they never really put me in a situation where I had a hard time getting around them. Maybe that will change in the game's latter half, but from what I did see, the guys are pretty creepy looking, but don't look at them for too long because the game has a sanity mechanic. The more you look at the monsters or stay in darkness, the more your sanity goes down. You can light candles or use your lantern you have, but those resources can run out. While I do like the idea of the sanity mechanic, it kind of comes off as a little sloppy in the game, simply because there were too many cases where I couldn't progress without going into darkness but had no way to light my way and my sanity meter was already really low, making it very annoying to see, which may have been intended. The game opens up urging you to play this game not to win, but to be immersed. But they do still have gameplay mechanics that I can't help but try min-maxing, and given that the game is very much not designed around the player doing this, it felt kind of disconnected from the whole thing. Amnesia: The Dark Descent wasn't really my thing, but I think one day I will restart the game and give it another go. The plot does pique my interest, and from what I read, it goes kinda wacky by the end. It might be your thing if you like this kind of game though, in which case I highly recommend it. What it lacks in gameplay, it makes up for in atmosphere, and clearly that was the focus. But overall, I'd say it's a perfectly fine spooky time if you don't mind a game that wants to immerse you rather than give you a fully rounded experience. Okay, here's one I've always wanted to try but never got around to it. Alan Wake, made by the same guys that made Max Payne, Remedy Entertainment. If you like Stephen King novels or the show Twin Peaks, this game might pique your interest. In Alan Wake, you play as the titular character who's going on a vacation to the small town of Bright Falls, Washington with his wife, Alice. Alan is in a rut when it comes to his writing, so he hopes a vacation away from it will help him get his groove back. But when Alice presents him with a typewriter, Alan gets mad and storms off. This is when Alice is attacked by some unknown being and is taken away, causing Alan to jump into the lake after her. Not knowing what happened and where Alice is, Alan sets off to find out what exactly is going on in the town of Bright Falls. Now, I know I kind of explained it poorly since there's a lot of other minor details that lead to this mystery as to who or what is trying to mess with Alan, or if any of it's really happening. And what makes it really effective is that the game plays out like a TV show, each level acting as another episode in a series.
Previously on Alan Wake, I came to Bright Falls with my wife, Alice.
Thank you for coming here with me. I thought maybe you could write here.
I don't want to hear it! God damn it, Alice!
Not the first game to do this, and probably a little ahead of its time, but I always found a charm in games that do this. Alan is a great character in my opinion. He's a Stephen King analog for sure, but he's got this personality of not really being a dick, but is kind of a dick to everybody, mainly because he's in a rut and doesn't like the whole fame thing.
I know who that famous artist was. It was Alan Wake, wasn't it? He's my favorite writer.
Everyone else so far is okay too. I do really like Alan's manager, Barry. He's like a George Costanza type character to Alan's Jerry Seinfeld.
I don't like it, Al. I don't like any of it. It's not good. In fact, it's the absolute opposite of good.
The setting is nice. I like the Dark Forest vibe with the levels, and how they focus on different mountain town things for the settings of said levels, like lumber yards or campsites. I do hope the whole game isn't just this stuff though. I could see it getting old after a while. The gameplay is also pretty damn fun too. So you know how in Luigi's Mansion you have to use a flashlight to make enemies vulnerable to attack? attack? Alan Wake operates kind of like that. You have to focus your flashlight on an enemy to get rid of the darkness surrounding them, and once it's gone, you can attack them with a gat. So yeah, Alan Wake is Luigi's Mansion, but give Luigi a gun. Actually, they do play with light being an offensive force pretty well in the game, like how a flare gun gets to act more like a grenade launcher. Now, did I like the light stopping the game to tell me how to play it?
That is all. I will give you back your dream now.
Maybe not, but aside from that, I had a good time with Alan Wake and definitely plan on picking it back up in the near future. And with Alan Wake 2 coming soon to digital-only storefronts, I hate the modern gaming industry. Now's the perfect time to give the original game a try. Alan Wake, is that a title or a command? Play the game to find out. You ever discover a game that makes you go, God damn, I wish I had a Sega Dreamcast growing up? Cause I sure didn't until I played a little game called Illbleed. A pretty obscure survival horror game with a cult following that has gained a little bit more popularity in recent time. And after playing the first 2 levels of Illbleed, genuinely, I think this might be one of my favorite games.
My dad was always conjuring up new devices, tricks, and traps, each one scarier than the last. Guess who he tried them out on? Yep. Me.
In Illbleed, you play as Eriko Christie, a high school student who isn't fazed by much anymore because her father would always scare her to death at a young age. Eriko's 3 friends, Kevin, Michelle, and Randy, plan on going to a new theme park called Illbleed that apparently has a $100 million prize to anyone who can make it through the whole park. Eriko decides not to go with them, but once her friends never return, she goes to Illbleed to search for them.
Excuse me, did you see 3 high school kids around here 3 days ago? They had special invites. What?
Eriko must traverse through the park's many attractions in order to find her friends and confront Illbleed's creator, Michael Reynolds. Now, not a crazy setup, but what makes the game special is everything surrounding the setup. The unsettling aesthetic, the cheesy voice acting, the goofy music, and of course, the fun as hell different levels. All of it make this game feel like no other. Eriko and her friends are just a bunch of goobers that share a single brain cell and are all fun to listen to due to the voice acting being just beautiful.
Okay now, here we go! Whoa, yeah. At last, we can be together forever! Let's go back to hell.
And you do get to play as whoever you end up saving, so you get some character variety, even if Kevin acts like how I would in this situation. Just missing the piss stains. The gameplay of Illbleed. It's a Minesweeper? You find a horror monitor in each level and use that to mark areas that you think might have a trap set. If you marked it correctly, you don't take damage from the trap. But if you encounter a trap you didn't mark, you take damage. Now, these traps are not scary at all. The game proclaims itself to be a B-movie horror game, so while it appears to be trying to scare you, it's not. Between the cheesy-ass narration and the traps being goofy shit, it's easy to see why this game is a good time. Occasionally, these traps will be battles with enemies. You can escape via helicopter, or you can try to fight them. The combat is clunky, I'd say by design, but you're forced into a battle or two every now and again, so I do wish the combat wasn't as lame, and don't get me started on the chaser segments. But first, look at this guy. Yeah, this game is just messing around. You gotta run away, but the dude can teleport, which makes these a little more annoying than they should. And the platforming. Oh my god, the platforming is garbo! Even with that though, this game is just such a ride. I had a great time with what I played, and I definitely will finish the game this month, and I'll probably end up making a video about it in the future. Now, there was going to be an Xbox port, but it got canceled, so all we have is the Sega Dreamcast version, and it's... holy shit. Now, I, would never suggest anything that might be in the gray area of legality, but seriously, can you afford that game? Do what you gotta do to play Illbleed. It's probably one of the most unique horror games I have ever or will ever play. first saw Grim Fandango, I instantly fell in love with it. Despite that though, I never actually sat down and played it myself. And given that it's the spooky season and the Day of the Dead is literally right after Halloween, what better time is there to play Grim Fandango?
Now, there's no need to be nervous.
Nervous? No. It's just your appearance. It's a little intimidating.
Intimidating? Me? But I'm your friend. My name's Manny Calavera. I'm your new travel agent.
In Grim Fandango, you play as Manny Calavera, a salesman for the Department of Death, who basically sell travel packages for trips to the Land of Eternal Rest to the recently deceased based upon how virtuous they were in their life.
Yaha! Yes, that's the ticket. The Excelsior line. Yes, she's a beauty. That compass and the handle will sure come in handy, too.
Manny hasn't had a good client in a long time, however, so he swipes a saint, Mercedes Calamar, right from under the top earner. But when Manny can't find the best travel packages she deserves, Manny is canned for stealing a client, said client who decided to start walking to the Land of Eternal Rest, which is extremely dangerous. So it's up to Manny to find Meche and make his own journey to the Land of Eternal Rest. All the while, a sinister plot behind the scenes is playing out that's keeping virtuous people from getting the travel packages they deserve. This world is so interesting. It's all set up very fun with its play on the afterlife, and every character is a joy. GLaDOS, the hot rod junkie demon, is a fun foil to Manny's cool, calm demeanor.
You know, Manny, I could make this car a little faster if you wanted.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh yeah, slam the front into the weeds, tub the rear end, dual blowers popping out of the hood.
The top earner, Domino, has this, yeah, I'm hot shit attitude about everything.
I want my office back. Don't worry, you'll have years and years to enjoy it after I get promoted out and you're still here. I think you're up to something. Yeah, I'm up to about 4 premium sales this week.
Everyone fits a really entertaining role in whichever situation you're in. And of course, Manny is such a charming character. Not necessarily a good person, but he's just trying to give his due so he himself can begin his own journey to the Land of Eternal Rest.
On second thought, I want to upgrade my package.
Sorry, Bruno, but you didn't qualify for anything better. But here, have this complimentary mug.
It's a point-and-click adventure-styled game, and I will say sometimes I got stumped and had to look up some of the solutions, only to find out that I missed something, like you gotta click the other side of the rope, or wait for a fire beaver to jump down and spray them, and not when you can just do that while they're on the bridge. Stuff like that does make the game a little hard to fully enjoy, but they're only minor setbacks at best. The world and characters are way more than enough for me to want to keep playing this game. It's available on pretty much everything, so if you like these styles of games, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not playing Grim Fandango.
Buenos dias.
You're not the nurse?
No?
You're not here to give me my medication?
No, but I am here to ease your pain.
Guess they couldn't save me, huh?
No, but there's still a chance you could save me.
Really sure you can consider this to be spooky or horror in any way, but it definitely isn't not spooky or horror, you get me? Besides, I've wanted an excuse to try out Killer 7 for a while now.
This is too easy.
Killer 7 is the game No More Heroes director Goichi Suda directed before that game's release, and I can see why he was trusted to create another experience after Killer 7. This game is strange, wacky, creepy, and all in all, a way more unique experience than anything else you'd find from 2005. In Killer 7, you are Garcian Smith, who appears to be a hitman of some kind. After receiving a phone call discussing the amount of enemies he needs to take out in addition to the main target of the mission, Garcian seems to completely switch to a whole new person. We are now Dan Smith. And as it turns out, in addition to Garcian and Dan, there are 5 more personalities we can swap between during gameplay. K-Day, Kevin, Coyote, Khan, and Master Smith, all having their own abilities and gameplay style. And what follows is a strange mind screw of a game involving us taking out these weird ghost monsters called Heaven's Smile, who laugh a lot and explode when they get too close. And of course, taking out the main target of the mission, which is the main goal. I only played the first mission, and honestly, I still can't really tell you guys where I think the plot is going. You get some dialogue talking about the Smith Syndicate, or a little insight into some of the personalities, but not as much as to who we work for, or why we need to take out our target. But I'm sure that comes later in the game. Unless it's like Killer is Dead, and it doesn't, in which that would suck, but innocent until proven guilty. Look at how cool this game looks, though. The heavy shadow contrast with its not really anime, but kinda anime style stands out so much, especially for the era. I can't say any other other game on the PS2 looks like Killer 7, and I'm glad this style continued throughout some of Suda51's other works. The gameplay is definitely weird as well. You move on rails until you come to a fork in the road in which you choose which direction to go. There's a lot of survival horror-esque puzzles to solve as well as plenty of enemies to kill. When a Heaven Smile is near you, you'll hear it. So when you switch to first person view and scan the area, you can see them and take them out. Each personality has something that makes them unique. Dan Smith is primarily combat-oriented and is the best for taking out Heaven Smile with his cool-ass revolver. Kaide Smith can see secrets in the world and has a cool pistol that's slow to reload but has a lot of shots. Kevin Smith throws knives when he's not busy directing Clerks and crying at Marvel movies. Coyote Smith can open up locks and has this voice line that I like. Con Smith is fast as fuck, boy, and can take out fast enemies. And Master Smith has 2 grenade launchers, which makes any enemy a non-issue, but you can't collect blood to level up in that case. Oh, and of course we have Garcian Smith. He doesn't get much in terms of unique abilities with his silenced pistol, but if a different personality dies, he's the one you'll have to play as to retrieve and revive whoever has died. How does that make sense since they're all the same person? It doesn't, and it really doesn't have to. This game is bonkers and I absolutely love it. I am definitely going to come back to Killer 7 so I can finish it and do a full video on it, because man, this game is something special. While I did play the old PS2 version, it's on Steam now. If you appreciate strange and kind of off-putting games, I highly, highly recommend it. And to end this video off with, this wonderful exchange of dialogue.
You're a good friend, but unfortunately, our interest is not mutual. We both have become burdened with so much, and we don't have time for fun anymore.
No, there's always time for fun. It's Friday night.
Let's dance.
Nobody ever seems to talk about Splatterhouse anymore, and that's a shame because this is a pretty underrated series in my opinion. Maybe it's because the last game to come out wasn't that great, but I don't know, I think the series has a lot of potential, especially going back and playing the original game. In Splatterhouse, Rick Taylor and Jennifer Willis are caught in a storm and take refuge in the infamous West Mansion, where things don't really go that well for them. Jennifer is kidnapped and Rick is left nearly dead when a mysterious mask called the Terror Mask appears and offers Rick power if he puts it on. So Rick does and sets off to save Jennifer, all the while hacking up horrible creatures along the way. Simple plot, but man, the aesthetic of this game is so cool. Such a gory-ass game for the time it came out. A lot of the blood might be green, but you still get some gory bits here or there. And the sound effects are so freaking satisfying. Gameplay is slow, but intentionally so, as it's meant to make you feel like a powerful force of nature. And you definitely do. Look at Rick just punching the fuck out of those swamp monsters. Floating heads, knives. He can punch knives. You get a lot of weapons too. Meat cleavers, bats, a gun, all of which actually kill enemies in different satisfying ways. It's a simple and fun game to play, although the game can be an absolute dickhead with its difficulty sometimes. Aside from throwing just a little too much at you or giving you a long-ass gauntlet that you'll have to start over if you die, sometimes it does cheap shit like this. What the hell? I won! Don't throw one more attack at me after I feel like it's over, now I gotta start the whole thing again! Well, regardless of that, Splatterhouse is a fun time. If you like classic arcade fun that won't let you get that ending for free, definitely give this and any of its sequels a try. What the hell is that? Creepy, subtle horror is a lot more my jam when it comes to spooky games. Dead Space? Dead Space is anything but that. But that isn't to say Dead Space doesn't have its merits. It's just about as scary as a dentist appointment. Yeah, you aren't exactly comfortable, but nothing really surprising happens. Shut up. In Dead Space, you play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer who, with a small team, dock onto a large planet mining ship called the Ishimura to investigate the whereabouts of its crew. Included in its crew is Isaac's girlfriend, Nicole, who has sent Isaac a video before disappearing. The crew quickly discovers that they're not alone on the Ishimura, as grotesque monsters called necromorphs attack the crew.
Jesus! Overfire! Overfire! Trigger power!
Leaving Isaac and 2 other crew members, Kendra and Hammond, as the only survivors. So Isaac sets off in an attempt to figure out what happened on the Ishimura and to Nicole, and to hopefully make it off the ship alive. The sci-fi setting is definitely a nice change of pace from the rest of the games I've been playing this month, plus the quick isolation from the other surviving crew members, while predictable and very video gamey, does make you feel helpless. At first anyways, because Dead Space is not as much survival horror as it is action horror. The second you get a weapon, it's over for the necromorphs. Which, let's talk about these guys. Yeah, they're pretty creepy looking and animated really well, but scary? Nah. I mean, yeah, a big monster jumping out at me and screaming is right to make me go. But even the first time they try to scare you with one of these guys, it didn't do much for me. And like I said, once you get a weapon, shit, it's a walk in the park. It is fun though. The idea is, rather than just shoot them until they die, you'll want to shoot them so their limbs fall off. This makes every interaction more about being able to aim properly without wasting too much ammo rather than just pumping them full. Definitely takes after the Resident Evil 4 school of gunplay. And it's really fun. I was having a great time with the combat. I can't say the enemies were that interesting though. Then again, they are pretty creepy, but not like horrifying. Of anything, the subtext of some of the crew members of the Ishimura worshipping these things or having some sort of crazy death call is more scary than the monsters are. More interesting too, since the characters we're stuck with are pretty basic as far as sci-fi soldiers come. So really, Dead Space is a fun game to play and has a really cool sci-fi setting. But one thing I will say, this PC port is fucked up, man. Like, oh my god. You can't walk through doors if your FPS is too high. I was stuck in the first room of the game and got to see this happen over and over again. Ironically, Dead Space might be the funniest game I've played all month because holy shit, this stuff is gold sometimes. Overall, Dead Space is fun if you like action horror games with fun combat. It's like a faster paced RE4 in a way. But with the remake of Dead Space existing, I'd say you're better off with that one. The characters are more fleshed out, including Isaac, and the tech to the game is 100 years ahead of the original. So really, play the original Dead Space if you want to laugh. Horror games have some sort of enemy that you have to overcome. Zombies, monsters, cultists. Yeah, we'll try an overzealous religious upbringing. In before somebody says that I already said cult. The Binding of Isaac Repentance. This is like, what, the 6th version of the game? Well, with the fact that the original Binding of Isaac is from 2011, this better be one of the greatest games of all time. You got lucky, Edmund. I love The Binding of Isaac. I've been playing it ever since its original release. Seeing it evolve into the game it is today has always been such a treat, and the game we have today is definitely a genre-defining title that everyone should play. The story of The Binding of Isaac is that of the biblical tale almost to a T. Isaac lived alone with his mother, who one day heard the voice of God telling her that Isaac is corrupt by sin and must be cleansed of all earthly desires. So Isaac's mother takes everything Isaac owns, including the clothes off his back, away, and locks him in his bedroom. The voice of God tells Isaac's mother that in order to prove her loyalty to God, she must sacrifice Isaac to him. But before she can get the chance, Isaac jumps down the trapdoor under his carpet and plummets down to the basement. Unfortunately for Isaac, though, the basement is full of monsters, creatures, and religious deities. So using the power of his tears, Isaac must battle his way through the basement to find his way out. This setup does a great job of making you feel for Isaac. The whole game is a commentary on organized religion and how that impacts young children who don't fully understand it. I recommend looking up the creator Edmund McMillen and what inspired the creation of The Binding of Isaac. It really makes all the pieces fit. The whole game has this super cool looking art style that was ever so prevalent in the early Newgrounds days. It's like cute, but it's usually cute versions of messed up things. Dead bodies, feces, I probably shouldn't show that. No other game looks like this. It's uncomfortable, but in a funny way. What isn't funny is the music. The music in Rebirth's versions of the game are pretty good. But I can't lie, I 100% prefer the music in the original version. Way more unique and impactful. Thank God for mods. What really makes the game shine is its gameplay. This is one of the early roguelike games before it became an oversaturated genre. You can select one of many versions of Isaac, all with different stats and abilities, and you progress through a series of floors fighting enemies and looking for upgrades. At the end of each floor, you fight a boss, and after which you progress to the next. Everything is randomly generated, and there's a lot of properties that can allow secret rooms to appear or rare items or enemies to appear, and as with any roguelike, when you die, you have to start all over. But thanks to some pretty OP items, you won't have a hard time creating some fucked up amazing runs. Or you'll just get a constant string of shit items and not get anywhere. Yeah, there are plenty of items that are completely useless and only exist to troll you, which is very Edmund McMillan. The Binding of Isaac is a great time, and I haven't even talked about the variety of characters, greed mode, or how insanely difficult some of the bosses are. But I think if this has piqued your interest in the game, you should play The Binding of Isaac. It's available on everything and very worth your time. And I mean, come on, look at that face. How could you not buy this game? Plants vs. Zombies. What? It's fun, okay? I want to talk about it. Shut up! In Plants vs. Zombies, zombies are invading your lawn, so put plants down to fight them. Well, thanks for watching the video, guys. See you for the next... Yeah, the game's really simple, but I mean, it's an iPad game, so it doesn't really need anything more than that. In order to put down plants, you need sun, so you can put down sunflowers that will generate more sun than just the sun will. That's a really weird way to say that, isn't it? And then you put down plants that will defend your lawn for you. You got pea shooters, ice pea shooters, 3-pea shooters, fast pea shooters, things that aren't pea shooters, walnuts. Peanuts, pineapple smells. The level variety does get pretty wild near the end, and there's a lot of different enemies. Actually, this one's kind of funny. So this dancing zombie in some versions looks like Michael Jackson, but in some other ones it just looks like a generic disco guy. I don't know if that was like a copyright thing, or if he had like died and they got upset about that or something, I don't know. You even get some weird mini games like this bowling mini game here. Oh, how could I forget? Crazy Dave! Yeah, he sort of acts as the mentor character, giving you all the tutorials in the early game, and then later he'll be a shop that you can buy different seed packets to put in your little seed stock. And I mean, come on, Crazy Dave, look at the guy, you gotta love him. And, you know, the game looks nice too. I mean, it's kind of got that Flash sort of looking art style from the era. But I mean, come on, you look at these characters, you instantly know what they're from. And, oh, geez. I don't know, there's not like a whole lot to the game. I mean, I guess I didn't really talk about how there's like this grid format where the zombies will only walk towards your lawn. So everything operates on lines, right? You just gotta put down your seeds to block the line, and the zombies can eat your plants to break through them, and if they get to the end, you do have lawnmowers that protect your lawn, but once the lawnmowers are gone and the zombies get through, they get through. But I mean, the game's cute. I mean, you know, the zombies will write you letters to let you know they're gonna invade your lawn. There's a wide variety of them. Some of them get mad. And I don't know, it's just like a little cute game. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call this a game that you need to play during the Halloween season specifically, but I mean, you could also play it during the Halloween season. I don't see why not. Look, filling up 31 games isn't that easy, guys, and I just needed one that was easy to talk about that I could just throw together really quick. And it's a short, fun, cute time, so play it if you like games like this. At least pay tribute to Crazy Dave. Yes, Resident Evil, considered by many to be the pinnacle of the survival horror genre. Now, I've done a video on the first game already, so why not talk about my favorite Resident Evil title, Resident Evil 2. Not the remake, which is also really good, but the original PS1 version. I'm playing the GameCube version. In Resident Evil 2, you play as either Leon S. Kennedy or Claire Redfield, both of which have come to Raccoon City only to discover it has been overrun by zombies. The two characters meet up but are quickly separated due to a fire, and whoever you're playing as takes refuge in the nearby police station. So it's up to Claire and or Leon to find a safe way out of the police station and by proxy, a way out of the Raccoon City. This continues the Hollywood-esque vision the original game had. It's like a zombie movie, but we have some really cool characters to play as. Leon is a rookie cop, so he's a little inexperienced but determined to do his duty and keep everyone safe, and Claire is a badass who has no problem taking charge and shooting zombies. There's a strong supporting cast too, so the game really does play out like a Hollywood blockbuster, and the voice acting is a huge improvement over the first game.
Ooh, sorry about that, babe. I thought you were one of them.
Well, an improvement anyways. And with how good the game looks for PS1, and how awesome and memorable the soundtrack is, this game stands out to me as the best PS1 survival horror game. The whole game has you running around the police station, solving puzzles and finding key items to open doors or solve other puzzles. But of course, the police station is infested with zombies. Your inventory is limited and weapons and ammo take up slots, so you can only take what you need. Of course, the ammo you find is also limited, so you also have to know when to run or when taking out an enemy is necessary. But zombies aren't your only threat here. The liquor enemy is the first big surprise you get when playing RE2 for the first time. Fast and deadly, whenever a liquor shows up, you know you'll have to decide quick how to deal with it. Some people may say the game is dated, but I disagree. I think along with games like Metal Gear Solid or Final Fantasy VII, it's a perfect representation of the PS1 era of gaming. Sure, it isn't the graphical showcase the remake is, but the original stands on its own. I will say though, I love the RE2 remake. I think as far as remakes go, this one is near perfect. Yeah, some whatever content was removed, and the B campaigns aren't as cool as the OGs, but I still had a blast with it. I actually dig that these two games are as different as they are. It makes them both stand together. Hopefully one day we'll get a re-release of the original PS1 trilogy of the Resident Evil games, but find a way to play the original RE2. It really is one of the best. Konami is a bunch of trash, and I hope the company goes under. With that out of the way, PT, a teaser as to what the new Silent Hill game was going to be, which was going to be directed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, a combo nobody saw coming. But because Konami decided to crucify Kojima on a cross, Silent Hills, as it was going to be called, was cancelled and will never see the light of day. Sad, sad times. But PT did inspire an entire generation of horror games that decided to, you know, not waste an amazing horror game idea in favor of more patchy slots. But PT still stands out as one of the most unique horror experiences out there. In PT, you wake up in a dark room with only one door. Once you enter, you find yourself in a hallway. You'll find a few shelves, a bathroom, a locked door, and a radio reporting on a pretty grisly-sounding murder.
His 6-year-old daughter had the good sense to hide in the bathroom, but reports suggest he lured her out by telling her it was just a game. The girl was found shot once in the chest from point-blank range. The mother, who he shot in the stomach, was pregnant at the time.
There is one door at the end of the hall down some stairs. Once you enter, you're back at the start of the hall. At this point, you realize that the game is going more for a mindfuck. You'll loop the hall, look around, see what was changed, and then loop again. What makes it scary is how eerily quiet the game is. Just the sounds of your footsteps, maybe the radio every now and again, and you'll end up finding some pretty disturbing stuff.
Hey, yo, what are you doing? Get him out of there!
This game looks so good. Given that it's just a teaser, they were able to put all of whatever budget they had into such a small space. And it works too. This place looks lived in, so many small details. And with how cryptic the progression of the game is and the nature of how it presents the player with the hall, this game is still being debated on, especially when it comes to getting that ending. Having a mic plugged in, looking at specific objects, walking a certain number of steps, nobody really knows what triggers the ending that reveals itself as a Silent Hill game.
You've been chosen.
As many know, this game's cancellation is what led to Death Stranding's creation, even down to Norman Reedus being the main character. I wrote Normal Reedus. But I still would have loved to see what Silent Hills was going to be. Having visionaries like Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro behind it would at least guarantee that it wouldn't be another retread of the previous Silent Hill games. And with the subtext behind PT's world, it sounds like it would have been wonderfully disturbing. So I recommend PT. But, right, Konami. Yeah. So they took PT off all digital storefronts when Silent Hills was canceled, so if you never downloaded or uninstalled PT after the fact, you ain't getting it. I never uninstalled my copy, so it's literally the only reason I keep my PS4 around. But the game has been backed up online at least, so maybe someday once PS4 emulation becomes viable, we can all play PT. Because nothing says trying to install good faith like basically book burning just because they didn't like the way Kojima was making them money. Yeah, seriously, fuck Konami. As for the future of Silent Hill, I don't know, man. The remake of 2 looked okay, and the other Silent Hill games looked whatever. And Silent Hill F at least should be interesting, but given that the Silent Hill 2 remake is a companion title to a new Silent Hill movie made by the same dude as the last two, and it's being made by Bloober Team, known for The Medium, and it's confirmed that they're changing stuff, I don't know. I'll save judgment for when these games come out, but confidence isn't high. Wow. Kind of depressing way to end the video. Why is my son in the sink? Our tolerance for ultra-violence is scarily high these days, isn't it? Back in the good old Mortal Kombat days, parents got their panties in a bunch over this. Nowadays, shit, I'd show that to a toddler. Now we got limbs being hacked off, skin being degloved, and blood. Lots and lots of blood. So let me tell you about this little game that couldn't, called Thrill Kill. Created by Paradox Development, Thrill Kill was a PS1 fighting game that decided to go all in with the ultraviolence and aimed to become the new Mortal Kombat. And they even wanted to get an AO rating, the highest age rating the ESRB rating system can give, which is usually reserved for, So since most stores wouldn't stock AO rated games, Paradox toned down the game a little bit, but at the same time, the publishing company Virgin Interactive was bought out by Electronic Arts, also known as the cyanide pill of the gaming industry. EA decided to take the moral high ground and refused to release the game or sell it to any publisher who wanted it. Yeah, EA decided to be the morality police on this one and wanted to fight against the stigma that video games were all about violence or whatever. This was 1998, so maybe at the time it would have been bad press to let the game go, but someone at Paradox Development said fuck it and released the almost complete uncensored version of the game online, and now anyone can play it. So would Thrill Kill have been worth it? Begin. In Thrill Kill, you choose one of 8 freaks, 10 once you unlock the 2 sub-bosses, who have all died and been sent to hell. Maruka, the goddess of secrets, gets bored and decides to hold a fighting tournament in which the winner will be resurrected into the real world once again. Each character gets an ending where you see what exactly got them sent to hell in the first place. Except for the character Judas, he just, gets to be born. My theory is that since the fight with Judas isn't a free-for-all like the rest, Judas is another demon from hell and their reward for winning is getting to be born at all. Anyways, these endings are pretty whack, but in a fun way. They don't even look that bad, they're just directed weirdly.
You can't fail me, you little... Uncle Cletus's homestyle sausage. Good.
The game does look pretty good for PS1. The characters are all very distinct and weird looking. They have a lot of costumes too, which is a fun treat. The gameplay of Thrill Kill is interesting. It's usually a 4-player free-for-all where your goal is to attack enemies so your kill meter goes up. Once it's full, you catch one of your opponents and you get to kill them. Once it's just you and one other opponent, you get to do one final kill, but this time it's unique to your fighter. Thrill Kill, if you will. And they are fairly graphic for the time. Of course, compared to stuff we got today with the modern Mortal Kombat games, this ain't anything to shake a stick at. I will say, I'm not too big of a fan of the gameplay though. The base fighting is alright, but since it's an arena fighter, it's kinda hard to pull off special moves or hit specific targets. And the kill meter stuff got old pretty quick. Like, if an opponent gets to kill someone and they just decide to go for you, game over, try again. My god, the amount of times I got my Thrill Kill and just couldn't catch my opponent. Like, guys, I won. Just let me kill you! Don't even get me started on Maruka. Don't get me started on Maruka. This fucking twirl move she does makes me want to shit a house. The fact that it does damage and has so much range, it makes beating her almost impossible. With a little refinement, Thrill Kill could have been a great fighting game. And like I've said previously, if we had gotten a sequel but with the character dynamics of something like Twisted Metal Black, we might have had one of the most wonderfully disturbing fighting games of all time. But as it is now, Thrill Kill will have the legacy of being one of the most famous canceled games of all time. But it did get to live on in one way, as Wu-Tang, Shaolin style.
Don't mess with Big Baby Jesus.
Wow.
Don't shake a skeleton's hand in the bathroom.
We've gone through some classic survival horror games, so why not talk about what many consider to be the granddaddy of them all, Clock Tower. While not specifically a survival horror game, it definitely is what inspired all of the classics that we love. And without it, horror games would not have been the same. But this is actually a point-and-click adventure game. The only difference between this and others of the same genre is that it focuses more on being chased and exploring a large labyrinth-like mansion. Sound familiar? Well anyways, in Clock Tower you play as Jennifer Simpson, an orphan girl who, along with 3 other orphans, gets adopted by Simon Barrows. Soon after their arrival, Jennifer finds herself alone and eventually finds one of the others murdered. This is the Scissor Man. the main antagonist of the game that will stalk Jennifer and attempt to kill her if he gets too close. So Jennifer has to find her remaining friends and escape the mansion alive. Oh, and the mansion has a clock tower attached to it, so that's why it's called Clock Tower. For a Super Nintendo game, this has got to be one of the most atmospheric games on the console. Of course, I'm playing the PS1 version, but there are barely any differences in the two versions. There's rarely any music and all you hear is Jennifer walking. Pretty innovative stuff for the time. The point-and-clicking nature of the game is fine, pretty cryptic though. If you do want to play this game, I'd recommend a guide to getting one of the 9 different endings. Otherwise, you'll be running back and forth the way I did. I will say, the encounters with the Scissor Man aren't as nerve-wracking as you'd expect them to be. I mean, he can appear anywhere, but getting away or hiding isn't too bad if you know what you're doing. But there are other ways of dying, like just burb. There is actually a lot to discover in the game. Different story paths, secret scenes, unique encounters. It's a really short game, but there's a lot to see in it. It was never released in the West, so emulate it however you prefer. SNES, PS1, Wonder Swan, whichever you prefer. And maybe try the sequels out. I heard 2 is fine and Ghost Head is a pile of garbage. And 3? Well, one day I'll talk about 3 because that game is its own beast. But the original Clock Tower is definitely one of the most unique horror games I've played, even if the villain looks like that. Very few games come by like Signalis, a passion project developed by 2 people over the course of 8 years that aim to evoke the classic survival horror era since long past. I'm talking PS1 styled Resident Evil Silent Hill stuff, and I gotta say, aesthetically, mechanically, and narratively, this game is a treat. In Signalis, you play as Elster, a replica unit who awakes from a slumber to find her ship crash-landed on a snowy planet and completely abandoned. Once Elster exits and explores the planet, she finds a gate that leads to a hole. She enters the hole to find another, smaller hole. Inside of this hole is a room with a few things in it. A door, a lockbox, the book The King in Yellow. Once she picks that book up, she gets a signal. Remember, our promise is a major theme of Signalis, as Elster's true mission once the game starts proper is to find her captain, Ariane. Unfortunately, this is a survival horror game, and all of the crew members in the facility have been infected with some disease that turns them into horrible creatures, and they're hostile towards anyone not infected. You do meet a few characters along the way, but for the most part, it's just Elster and the monsters that are in her way, and man, does the story go. You might not get a clear idea as to what's actually going on, but the ambiguity is intentional, and you'll at least know what's going on emotionally by the end. And it's pretty rough, guys, not gonna lie. Signalis wears its inspiration on its sleeve. Of course, it's heavily inspired by survival horror classics like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but aesthetically, it goes more for something like Ghost in the Shell and Evangelion. Even narratively, it fits more closely to one of those stories rather than something like Resident Evil's spooky manor with zombies in it. No, this is a personal story full of self-reflection, and the atmosphere is what really sells it. The fact that the game looks as good as it does helps out a ton with that atmosphere. It intentionally looks like a low-poly PS1 game, but it uses that look to its advantage. Notice that most of the tech in the game is actually quite primitive. Pretty stock-looking weapons, keycards constantly being needed, even the different armor doesn't appear to be very high-tech at all. It's almost like a retro-futuristic look at what an Android future would look like, fitting that low-poly aesthetic. But once the gore comes, they do not let up with it. You get all sorts of meat and blood everywhere, plus some creepy-looking enemies, taking some pages from Silent Hill 2's nurse enemies. The gameplay is sort of a new age classic survival horror. There are tank controls, but they don't feel great in this game, so sticking to a more modern movement set is key here. You have very limited inventory space, but you do get some quick action items that you can carry along with you. But the game really wants you to travel light, which is something most survival horror games don't focus on anymore. So you really gotta decide, do I want to take a single weapon with me? What if I need to heal? Should I just avoid combat? It's a type of survival horror that actually emphasizes the survival aspect of it, and the game encourages you to take risks. The best ending in the game actually requires you to take a while to beat the game and get hit a lot, which the endings are one of the two issues I do have with the game. Other than the best ending, the rest are just kind of eh. And I will say the anime aesthetic does get in the way of the game's horror nature. No spoilers here, but later in the game they talk about how a character is all fucked up, but when you actually see them, they look kind of fine. But minor setbacks. Signalis is a near perfect survival horror game for us enthusiasts. And have I mentioned the music yet? Just take a listen. Yeah, that's the kind of game we got here. It was my game of the year for 2022, and I still stand by it. If you love survival horror and haven't played Signalis, then what the hell are you doing watching this video? Get out there and play it already. Fine. I will do a video on Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's is a— God damn it! Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game made by Spook-A-Thon, who I'm pretty sure hates gay people, but he won't admit it. It became a viral sensation thanks to YouTube Let's Plays, hence why it got 1 million sequels within the span of like 5 years. See, Scott made it as a response to his Christian games looking creepy, so he made something that was actually scary. And I mean, I know— Jesus fucking— At Five Nights at Fredman's, you play as a security guard working at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza joint for the night shift. It's all well and good, but the animatronic robots wander the halls at night, and if they get you— Fuck! The game overstays a jump scare. A cheap-ass, unapologetic jump scare. And when you get me, someone who gets overwhelmed and anxious as hell very easily, it makes the game literally unplayable. This isn't even me playing. I made my girlfriend play for me because I just can't do it. It's like being at work and you can't find anything to do, so you better find something to do quick before your boss sees you not working and— Well, I don't think he'll do that, but it feels like he will. It's just too much for me. I know you're all desensitized to jump scares in this game because you watched 10 hours of Markiplier playing it, but me? It makes me way too anxious. But anyways, to win, you have to make it to 6 a.m. and you do this for 5 long-ass nights. The gameplay is ingenious, too. It kind of feels like a bad dream to play this game. All you can do is look like— What the fuck? All you can do is look left and right. You can shut these doors as your only line of defense against the robots, but they'll drain your power. And if the power goes out— Oh, that's it. Oh, come on! The way you keep your eye on the robots is through the security monitors. You switch screens to see if anything is moved. They're kind of like those angel statues in Dr. What. You rarely see any actual movement, which definitely adds to the creep factor. See, nothing here is actually that scary. Okay, nothing here is traditionally scary. The sort of 90s pre-rendered looking graphics does make the game look off-putting, and the actual characters are a little creepy looking, but given that the major fan base for this game are children, I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's not what makes the game scary. It's the fact that if you don't balance those plays— Yeah, saw that one coming. Even if I'm too much of a bitch to play it myself, I can say I'm glad that the game is short because even just watching my girlfriend play it got kind of old after a while. But I will admit, the fact that so much was gained from a game that's actually so little is pretty cool. And I'm man enough to admit that I appreciate the fact that there's a slew of secrets and random things that can happen in the game, but I'm not gonna play it. If you all like it, fine, go play it. I just can't. The anxiety I get is too— Yeah. I'm sure one of the 80 sequels is just as good too, especially FNAF World. And maybe you want to see the movie that comes out— Oh, today, look at that. Yeah, I'll go see the movie sometime probably. At least whatever jump scares that have won't be because I fucked up. So yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. I respect it for what it does, it's just not my kind of horror. So multiplayer and horror doesn't really mix all the time, I get that. But come on, Left 4 Dead is really fun. Left 4 Dead 2 more specifically, because Left 4 Dead 2 has all the content from Left 4 Dead 1. So why would you buy Left 4 Dead 1 when you could just buy Left 4 Dead 2 and have all the content? I don't know.
Get ready to run. I'm hitting it. Charge your around, get ready. Let's go, people! Do that again and I'll come back on you.
Left 4 Dead is a cooperative first-person shooter in which you play as one of 4 characters and you gotta make your way to the end of the level, shooting every zombie there is. The context is sort of like movies. You know, each campaign has like a movie poster attached to it, and what makes it worth playing through is the fact that these characters are just mwah. Valve just knows how to make entertaining characters. I swear, every single game, all their characters are just a joy, and Left 4 Dead is no exception.
Who the hell puts an evac station up 30 flights of goddamn stairs?
Come on, Coach. Maybe the helicopter. Maybe it's made of chocolate.
From the Left 4 Dead 1 cast, we got Bill, the old sort of father figure war veteran guy, Francis, a big biker guy who's just a big softy, Lewis, the everyman who's way in over his head, and Zoe, the cool girl. Not just girl, she's a cool girl. And while those guys are cool, I gotta say the Left 4 Dead 2 cast is way better. From Left 4 Dead 2, we got Nick, the con man who's clearly more annoyed by the situation than anything, Ellis, the redneck NASCAR loving guy who just loves shooting his guns, Rochelle, the sassy one of the group, and, let's be honest, everyone's favorite, Coach. I mean, come on, it's Coach. He's just a big, lovable guy that you just want to see get through everything. And the amount of parody videos with this guy is just
Chili's baby back ribs. Chili's baby back ribs. Barbecue soul. Chili's baby back ribs. Chili's baby back ribs. Barbecue soul.
Love these guys. I just love all of them. It really doesn't matter who I play as. I'm always happy. I don't really want to play as Rochelle. But everyone else, I'm just, they're always so fun. The gameplay is really fun, too. So all the levels are pretty linear. You just kind of go from point A to point B. What makes it interesting, though, is that the zombie count is like, oh my god. They fit as many zombies as they can on this freaking screen, man. But if that's not enough, there's a slew of special zombies that'll make things more interesting. Chargers, jockeys, spitters, smokers, they all have some sort of thing that they do. But of course, we have the infamous tank, which is sort of like the boss of the level, and the infamous witch, who's basically the don't touch me or I will instantly knock you down.
Come on, man. Don't shit yourself.
Yeah, so the game sort of operates on this knockdown system. If you get knocked down, one of your allies needs to revive you. And of course, you can revive your allies as well. But this makes playing the game with AI... you can do it. It's not like it's impossible, but it's way more fun when you play it with friends, I swear. And with a wide weapon variety, and just a bunch of like little things you can find, like if you do the carnival one, and at the end you can have Ellis and Coach sing into the microphone, just, come on, this game is just a joy.
Gotta reach for the top. Stay on the mountain.
Sort of like a grindhouse flick, and the best time for grindhouse is Halloween, or October. I guess it's not Halloween yet. Left 4 Dead 2, Left 4 Dead 1, whichever, just play it with some friends. It's a great time. Okay, here's one I've always known about but never looked into. Yume Nikki, one of those RPG Maker horror games like Eve or Ao Oni or Corpse Party. A pretty obscure genre of horror games where it's mostly about dialogue and interacting with objects. They're kind of like point-and-click adventure type games, I'd say, except you don't point and click, you press and press. Yume Nikki is one of those non-narrative games where there isn't really a plot per se. It's all about finding what the game has to offer and reading into its subtext. In Yume Nikki, you play as Merotsuki, who lives alone in a small apartment and doesn't want to leave. Instead, she goes to sleep, and when she does, she's presented with a dream world. Within that dream world, there are 13 doors that will lead Merotsuki to different areas of varying weirdnesses, some including doors and exits of their own, leading to even stranger worlds within. So the point of Yume Nikki is to explore these worlds and see what they have to offer and collect these effects. These effects will change Merotsuki's appearance, and sometimes give unique abilities like moving faster on a bike or teleporting back to the 13 doors room. The game does have an ending where you collect all 24 effects, but I didn't end up doing that, so I'll leave the ending up to you to discover. The game's subtext has been the point of conversation among fans for years. What does all this stuff really mean? You get some whimsical areas and some downright unpleasant to look at places as well. Not to mention these off-putting ones that feel like a nightmare that just hasn't gotten started yet. I really dig the art in this game. There's a ton of different art styles with the different worlds, and they almost never match anything else in the game. This actually reminds me of that one game, LSD Dream Emulator, which makes sense as Yume Nikki literally translates to Dream Diary. And yeah, it does feel like a dream. One second I'm here, and next I'm in Mother 1. It's all about what you see, not much more to it. But there really is a sense of discovery when you play this game. Like, when you find something, you really feel like you found it. Especially when some of these areas feel impossibly big, too. It can be creepy, but never downright scary. Well, okay, I mean, Oboa is kind of scary, but other than that, it's more eerie. But it's like a dreamlike game that doesn't make much sense. And it's not supposed to. It's a look into someone's mind, someone who's clearly lonely but too afraid to reach out. What does all the imagery mean? It's up to you to decide. With a bunch of fan games, analysis videos, and even a manga to read, Yume Nikki is a great game to play this Halloween season. Nothing says Halloween like The Nightmare Before Christmas. Probably because it's a Halloween film and in no way a Christmas film. Get over it. It's somewhat a staple of the holiday at this point, and it's the subject of all sorts of cringy knickknacks that the same people with Deadpool and Harley Quinn bumper stickers like to have. I kid, of course. I've never been obsessed with the film, but I do appreciate it a lot and think it's a really well-made piece of media. And as it just so happens, it does have a little bit of a video game presence as well, being a reoccurring world in the Kingdom Hearts series of games. And in my opinion, the best world in that game. But I'm here talking about the official video game that acts as a sequel to the movie. The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge. Developed by Capcom of all companies, look at that. And of any game to make this a somewhat copy of, they decided to take cues from Devil May Cry 2. Uh-oh.
Coal robber! Coal robber!
In Oogie's Revenge, Jack hasn't learned his lesson from the film and wants to make Halloween more interesting. Dr. Finkelstein makes Jack one of those sticky hands that you get at the dollar store for like $1 to annoy your sister with, called the Soul Robber. How this correlates with Jack's dilemma is still being researched by teams of professionals to this day, but Jack seems to dig it, so he leaves the lab. And with no indication of how much time has passed, Jack returns to Halloween Town from his adventures, I guess? And the town has been overrun by monsters. Not the ones that already live there, but weird ones that, like... Okay, I'm not sure why they aren't like everyone else, but whatever. Evil monsters have taken over.
I don't believe we've met. I'm Jack. Jack Skeleton. What? You're not from Halloween Town, are you?
Turns out the three little twerps Lock, Shock, and Barrel have brought Oogie Boogie back to life. So it's up to Jack to stop him from taking over Halloween Town. And he does this by shouting Soul Robber for 40 hours.
Coal robber! Coal robber! Coal robber!
This game sucks. Like, bad. It feels like it had the potential to be a cool Devil May Cry offshoot by the same dev team, but it feels so half-baked. Jack's Soul Robber only has a basic attack and grab attacks. Sure, you can do this twirly thing too, but it's not like it's that helpful. That's all you really get for a while too, so the combat gets really repetitive really quick. The enemies are all basic-ass skeletons of various sizes, a couple different ghosts too, all of which are annoying in groups. And every time you show up, you get a lame-ass cover of This Is Halloween from people who weren't in the movie over and over and over every single time.
Coal robber!
I'm not really the type to get annoyed by repeating music, but if I have to hear Halloween, Halloween one more time, I'm going to turn the game off and go to bed. Actually, all the music is music from the film, but with new, worse, lame lyrics. The boss battles focus on you collecting notes to get the rhythm segment that deals a lot of damage. Hey, surprise, those are lame too. Can't hear the freaking music and there's no real rhythm to it.
3, 2, 1, let's go!
I see you're pretty proud of all your hidden tracks. But I can say you'll rule this town, oh, your friends.
This game is just annoying. Like, shit, you want to save? Have fun talking to this jack off in here and say, save it now, or risk doing it again for the 80th time. Pausing the game takes way longer than it should. Everything in this game feels like a waste of goddamn time. Each level will have you do something as simple as go find Zero. Well, he can't be at his grave because I checked it earlier and it said he wasn't there. But because this tree told me to look there, now he's there? I wasted 10 minutes looking for Zero because I didn't even think to check the place that said that he wasn't there. That's really my biggest complaint with the game, is the fact that half the time the missions don't really tell you what you need to do. Pull up all the graves to open up a thing. Okay, pull up all the graves, but the thing won't open. 20 minutes later, turns out you have to talk to the tree again? Yeah, this game blows. And it sucks too, because like I said, it had the potential to be a fun DMC ripoff of a game. It does look nice, and I like the idea of exploring Halloween Town from Jack's perspective. You actually get a devil trigger sort of thing later in the game too, so that's kind of cool. Maybe even a Santa trigger too. But with the annoying sound design and boring gameplay and downright lame mission structure, I can only say try out this game if you're a die-hard Nightmare Before Christmas fan itching for more content based on the film. But honestly, even then, just play the Game Boy Advance game. That has to be better, right?
Continue?
Happy Halloween, everyone, and here we finally are, the last game of the October Spook-A-Thon. And boy, howdy, is this one a doozy. Bloodborne. The first FromSoft Souls game I ever played. Unless you count me playing Dark Souls 2 for about 10 minutes and absolutely hating the shit out of that game, Bloodborne is the first Souls game I actually tried sitting down and playing. And I absolutely hated the shit out of this game. Imagine any Souls scrub quote. What do you mean you can't pause the game in offline mode? The difficulty spikes are too high. There should be an easy mode. Yeah, that was me when I first played. But years later I tried again, and I still hated it. But then I tried again a year later, and then it finally clicked. And not only did I become a born-again Souls fan, but Bloodborne became one of my favorite games of all time. In Bloodborne, you're a nameless hunter, mine is named Survey, who awakens in a clinic located in the city of Yharnam. You quickly discover that this is a heavily hostile place, and the only thing you have to go on is the simple message of seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. Once you inevitably die, you don't go to heaven or hell or purgatory or the void, but you instead wake up in the hunter's dream. There you meet Garnham. There you meet Garnham, who is an experienced hunter who just kind of says, don't think about it too much, just go kill shit. And kill shit you shall. Some big shit. So, some may argue that the plot of these games isn't exactly strong, but Bloodborne, more so than the other Souls games, has an atmosphere that pulls you into the world. And with how detailed all the item descriptions are, and having more NPCs than usual for a Souls game, I'd argue that this is the best Souls game narratively. It's not hard to piece everything together on the first playthrough, but let's not kid ourselves, the narrative isn't really why we're here. It's to see what fucked up things we gotta fight and kick the shit out of them. Well, maybe mostly get our shit kicked in, but that's all a part of the Bloodborne experience. Your major line of defense is one of so many trick weapons, all of which having two forms that you can swap between, hence them being trick weapons. Each one has its own moveset, so you get to try out a lot of weapons throughout your Bloodborne playthrough. I'm a fan of the Kirk Hammer, because big hammer go boom.
That's it, I'm getting me mallet.
Along with your main weapon, taking the place of the Dark Souls staple shield is a secondary firearm. Not useful for attacking in most cases, but this is more used to exploit enemy weak points in their attack patterns. By doing this, you can cause them to stagger, leading to a visceral attack for a ton of damage. This system promotes you to be way more aggressive in Bloodborne compared to Dark Souls' more defensive gameplay type. This is furthered by this mechanic where, when you take damage, if you can deal damage right after the fact, you can recover some of your health. So yeah, Bloodborne's like, get in there, you wimp, especially when you're getting rocked. And it is so fucking satisfying when you finally figure out a boss's weak points and you can make them look pathetic. I say as I barely squeeze by a blood-starved beast here. And these enemies are amazing. Terrifying designs, meticulously designed attack patterns, each one way tougher than the last. And they're all so unforgettable, more so than previous and even later Souls games in my opinion. And the themes accompanying these bosses are just, oh my god. Look, this game is near perfect, okay? The level designs in both their amazing gothic and eldritch horror-inspired architecture and their shortcut and secret-based design is a treat to explore. The combat feels like a dream, and it's just, I love this game, man. If I had any complaints, it's that your blood vials, this game's equivalent of the Soul's Estus Flask healing item, does not refill upon death, meaning if you run out on another boss attempt, you can't go again until you grind out 20 more, which is really, really lame, and there's really no reason for that. It wouldn't make the game any easier by having them refill upon death. All that is a waste of time. And not being able to travel between lanterns, Bloodborne's bonfire equivalent, is also lame. Having to go all the way back to the Hunter's Dream to travel to another place takes forever since the loading screens are long as hell. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to travel between them. But these are minor complaints. I could talk about this game's finer points all day. But this series of videos has to come to an end sometime, and I think a game as amazing as Bloodborne is the perfect game for that. It needs a remake, remaster, PC port, literally anything, because if you all play one of these 31 games this month, please make it Bloodborne if you can. If you can't, play Symphony of the Night. But thank you all for watching these reviews. I had a hell of a time making them, but it was fun. Will I do it again next year? No! Happy Halloween!
I should think you still have dreams. Well, the next time you dream, give some thought